Hello, and welcome back, my beautiful sinners, to another great video here on The Savior Show. How's it going? Let me know down below in the comments if you're doing well today, or if you're feeling a little bit crazy like I am. Let me know, my sinners, and welcome back. Make sure to subscribe if you're new and hit like if you want. That would mean a great deal to me, and any support would be appreciated. My links are down below in the comments and the description, my affiliate links, and of course the links to the music that I make on Spotify. Now today, my sinners, I've got a very interesting and important video to discuss with you, and of course, would you expect anything else by clicking on a savior video? No, of course not, because we don't make content that is trash. We don't make content that everyone else makes. We make important and fantastical, magical videos, and we can ride the unicorn together, and we can go over the rainbow together and discover peace and magic and love. That's right, because today, my sinners, we're talking about AI, and we're talking about art, we're talking about music, we're talking about the creativity of the human spirit, okay? Now, this is not so much a detailed video on how this stuff works, it's more of a philosophical video on where, this kind of places us as a species, as humanity, okay? Because I really think that this is an interesting discussion that not many people talk about. Now, if you enjoyed my video talking about are we living in a simulation, then hopefully you're gonna enjoy this video. And if this isn't your cup of tea, well, I would recommend you to listen to the video anyway, because you might learn something, and I love having a discussion with you in the comments down below. Let me know what you think. But anyway, there are this company called OpenAI, which basically they are responsible for looking after artificial intelligence, making sure that it doesn't go rogue on us in the future, making sure that it doesn't destroy us and learn basically how to function without humanity. Because of course AI is created by humans, but as time progresses, AI will not need humans anymore, because it's just gonna keep learning and replicating by itself. That's the whole point of having artificial intelligence, is so it learns, by itself. It's machine learning, and it's constantly updating itself, and all these algorithms are, self-teaching and self-taught, and so it can become a better, more productive version of the artificial intelligence. So that's all very interesting stuff, and we all know now that AI is rapidly improving, and that AI will soon take over the world. It already dictates so much of our lives, we just don't know it. I always talk about it in my dystopian series. If you don't know that, check out the playlist with my dystopian series. AI is everywhere. It basically functions on, everyday life, okay? Because when you go onto YouTube, for example, it knows exactly what you like, because it's learning through algorithms what kind of videos you like to watch. It's the same thing when you're doing shopping online. It knows exactly what you want, because it's constantly listening to you, it's constantly learning about you as a person. That's how artificial intelligence works, and this is why big tech is quite dangerous, because they always constantly collect our data, and they can use this basically to manipulate a virtual world in which we all live in, and that's pretty much what's gonna happen. But it's the same thing with advertisements, with these kind of personalized advertisements you always see. They're all tailored to you. It's constantly tailored to you. That's how artificial intelligence works. But what if we have artificial intelligence that isn't destructive against humanity? I know that's probably where it's heading, but actually maybe AI can actually be useful. So yes, this is a dystopian technology I'm talking about, but for once I'm actually gonna talk about it in a positive way, because there are some positives to these crazy technologies that are, rapidly advancing 24/7 in the modern day and age. For example, AI and the use of AI with art, with music, because this new company have basically managed to create an artificial intelligence that can create its own music. And how it does this is it listens to a lot of music, it catalogs them, and it puts them into different genres of how similar they sound, and it can constantly listen to different music and learn, the kind of rhythmic patterns of how each genre is laid out, and then it can create a kind of, artificial intelligent version of a song. Even though it's all gibberish, it's not actually spoken in any kind of language, for lyrics for example, but it does, learn all these different instruments, and, basically it generates sounds that aren't actually, real instruments. It's all synthetic, which is pretty amazing. So it can, replicate a piano, it can replicate a violin. I mean, I know that's what, modern day electronic music is, that's how I make music, but, this is coming from ground zero. This is coming from nothing. It's just generating these sounds and these lyrics to fit into a genre, okay? So it's pretty amazing that AI can create music. Now, it doesn't sound good, it doesn't have any kind of pattern or any kind of coherent kind of, thought structure to it, because it's just learning them as, the instruments and how it's kind of laid out. It's not trying to actually have a melody, for example. It's just learning the basics of how music is laid out. But in time, we will see that AI can actually produce its own music. It can write its own music. It can design its own songs, and that's going to be pretty amazing. Now, it's the same thing with art. A few artists now are using neural nets and these different types of artificial intelligence to generate artwork and to use, synthetic pixels to create, a new kind of synthetic painting. And we see this quite often with, digital art, but this is a huge difference because it's all generated by an artificial intelligence, okay? So now AI can actually create music, it can actually synthicate, it can actually make, music and art, digital art, and actual music, which is pretty crazy if you think about it. We already know that it can, replicate someone's voice. So my question to you, my sinners, is what happens when this becomes even more advanced, when we can't tell the difference between, something that's actually made from a human and from a robot, from an artificial intelligence? What happens when we can't tell the difference from a human song and an artificial song, okay? Because, in the future, we probably won't have mainstream artists, or we will still have mainstream artists, of course, but they probably won't be writing their own music. They're probably gonna be made by artificial intelligence, so all these big, music producers, these glorified celebrities that aren't really good at singing or making music anyway, right now, in the modern day and age, that's pretty much true right now. They're not actually that good, usually, most of them, at what they do. They're just, usually very sexy for girls, for example. They're just, models, they're just a status symbol. That's how the music industry works. But in time, they won't even have to pretend by using auto-tune that they're actually good at writing music and, singing, because an artificial intelligence will be writing and producing and making their own music, which is, crazy. I'm not talking about a computer where you have to, actually be a composer and, make your own music, because a lot of people, who are using electronic music already do that, but that still requires a lot of effort. You still make your own sounds. I'm talking about when we get to the point where it's all done by a computer algorithm. And when that time comes, when we see artwork and music both being created by an artificial intelligence, does this mean that art ceases to exist? Does this mean that art has no meaning? Because surely art is a human function. It comes from the human spirit. It comes from, the human mind, and, it constantly changes depending on the emotions that you feel. That's what makes art, is by capturing emotions, raw emotions. But what happens when an artificial algorithm does this? You know, if it sounds amazing, but it doesn't have any of the soul, does that make it any less of an artistic creation? These are the questions that we have to ask ourselves, because if an artificial intelligence becomes so advanced to the point of making amazing art, does that mean that that intelligence isn't just as real as our intelligence? Just because it's artificial doesn't necessarily mean that it, you know, ceases to exist as a being. Doesn't mean that it's, you know, ceases to exist as a form to create artistic, you know, creations and, you know, sounds and expressions, or does it? You know, these are the questions that we have to ask ourselves. When does the, you know, line become clear between, you know, our own reality, our own thoughts and expressions of what is, you know, art, what makes art, and what is the human expression of making something, compared to an algorithm or an AI that can do it just as well, or if not better? Does this mean that, you know, art ceases to exist, or can it still exist in an artificial form? And if it is a different form of intelligence, does that make it any less meaningful? These are the questions that we really need to ask ourselves for the future, because I'm sure within time artificial intelligence is going to be making, you know, a lot of creative stuff. And yes, that's quite scary to think about, because that's one of the few things left that I actually, you know, love about humanity. We are very destructive, but we do create amazing things. We are very imaginative. We can create all kinds of beautiful, wonderful creations. But what happens when artificial intelligence replaces us? Does that mean that we cease to exist, that we cease to function as a humanity, as a species? Or does it mean that we can coexist, and both forms of artificial intelligence and human intelligence are just equal, to the point of they can both create something? But if it has no emotion behind it and no soul, does that make it any less worthy? Does it mean that it's not, you know, as worthy as a human creation? So these are all very interesting discussions that I think we will be having in the future. I'm just gonna be talking about them now because not many people think about it, but I think it's a really interesting topic, okay? Because if you think about it, our brain in a way is a form of artificial intelligence, because, you know, it's not like anything we've ever seen before. It works the same way as modern AI. It's all built around a neural net. So what really is the difference between artificial intelligence and our own human intelligence? The only danger is if it really replaces us, and, you know, if it has coherent and its own independent thought. Just because it's different from ours doesn't make it any less worthy, in my opinion. But it has to have to reach that point where it can really think for itself, and, you know, it doesn't necessarily have to feel emotions like we do, but it does have to have this complex self-awareness to create art, true art, in my opinion. Let me know what your opinions are down below in the comments, and if AI and art, and if AI and creating art and AI creating music is a good thing, or if it's a bad thing. Let me know down below in the comments, and I hope you enjoyed this video. I think this was an interesting discussion to have, and I'll see you, my sinners, in the next video. Have yourselves a blessed day, much love and respect, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.